we are preparing to live stream.
I have a message that says meeting is streaming live on YouTube.
Excellent. That's what we want it to be doing. So I'm waiting for the little confirmation, and then we'll start talking about the very important things.
Awesome.
All right, I'm just waiting for that picture to come up to confirm that we are good to go. Then we'll do all the introductions, but just in case this starts streaming all right, I will say that we're good to go. I am Lara Toner Haddock, and with me is Cyndi Williams. A little confirmation,
Hi.
and then we'll start. And I'm gonna start talking about the very important there.
Awesome.
All right, just a second. Cyndi, tell us about this play. What's this play we're doing that's kicking off this Ghostlight season?
Well, it's called Red Hot Patriot, the kick-ass wit of Molly Ivins. It's a one-woman show about Molly Ivins, who was an extremely liberal columnist. If you don't know, she native Texan, was in Austin for many, many years. Personally, a free speech hero of mine.
And so you play Molly in this production.
I do indeed.
And I believe so. Molly Ivins, for those who aren't as familiar with her, worked for a lot of Texas papers over the course of her career. She also worked for the New York Times. She worked all around this country, and she died in 2007. So we don't have Molly's voice with us anymore, but you and I both met her briefly at the same time, I believe. She was, and I just got some insider information on this story that I wanted to share with people. So we met Molly. Tell them, where did we meet Molly?
Okay, so in front of the State Theater, where Lara and I were both working back in the day, there was a protest. The city of Austin had just passed a camping ban that, of course, was to, I guess, criminalize homelessness. And Stephen Fromholtz and Molly Ivins and some homeless people were out protesting in front of the State Theater.
Okay. So Stephen Fromholtz was a fantastic Texan singer-songwriter. And he also worked with us a lot back in the State Theater days when my dad was the producing artistic director there. So when Steve wanted to have this protest, he asked my dad if it would be okay if they held it in front of the State Theater. And it was during a production of Three Tall Women. And one of the actors in Three Tall Women actually got himself arrested on opening night of that play. And so my dad went down, and the protest was also happening at about that time. So my dad apparently went down to the jail to see if he could bail out that actor and see if he needed to bail out Fromholtz from the protest. So, Fromholtz had not been arrested, to my knowledge, during that, but that's how we were able to place exactly when this when the protest happened. So yeah, my sister remembered that, and one of the actors who was in Three Tall Women, she also mentioned meeting Molly at the same time, and so we put it together that that's the play that was going on. So that's your Texas theater history and just Austin history all together there. And that's the thing. Like, I came to Molly very relatively later. I was young then, and wasn't as up on her. So I've done a lot of my research after the fact, and there's some great documentaries out on her. Her voice was what I consider kind of iconic Texan, just a no nonsense with a lot of good humor, isn't afraid to use a little salty language where appropriate, and some of that is employed in the play. So if that is not your cup of tea, and that's fine, then maybe you want to wait for A Christmas Carol down the road. Just wait a little bit. So what was it like? What did you do to get ready to play Molly?
You know, YouTube is such a great resource for us actors these days. I have played people who were real people before, but certainly not someone who there's so many interesting interviews and workshops with. So I watched a lot of Molly Ivins on talk shows and just watched her slay. It was really interesting, particularly some that were recorded in the 90s. People reacted to her almost as though she was a comedian, which I really wasn't expecting, because I think of her as a very funny political writer.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, sort of that anticipation, honestly, of what's she going to say next? What's she going to say next? But it was such a great treat to get to watch her. And of course, I very quickly realized I couldn't do a Molly Ivins imitation. That would be a horrible thing to do to a perfectly good play. But there are certain little traits of hers that I really enjoyed and utilized a little bit. And I really appreciated it, because it definitely made me feel like I was in a different body, just moving in a different way.
So this play, it's set a bit in a newsroom, but you're not exactly sure where that newsroom is in space and time, I will say, without giving too much away. And it's in the morgue of the newsroom, which is where all the old editions of the newspapers are kept in the stacks, which is literally just stacks and stacks of newspapers there. So
the good stuff.
Mm-hmm. So Molly's able to kind of take us through a lot of her history by exploring what comes out of these stacks. One of the first things that I think got her national attention, and you can correct me if I'm off, is probably this. She was working at the New York Times when Elvis died, and Elvis, as you'll recall, died a little younger than anybody was expecting. And I was actually surprised when I did this research. He was 42 when he passed away.
Yeah.
So anyway, I am older than Elvis now, which is not something I'm really comfortable saying. But so she ended up writing his obituary, and having to follow like the Times protocol, and she describes that a little bit in the play. And it's clear that sometimes the way these newspapers functioned and their style didn't always mesh well with Molly, to put it mildly.
Yeah, actually, I feel the New York Times thing was like especially annoying to her, and I feel this because of the script, because she talks about arguing with a lot of editors, but Abe Rosenthal is the only one she names. And of course, he was the editor of the New York Times.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna look and see if I'm gonna ask you to talk about the newspaper that a lot of people maybe think of as the best fit with Molly, which is the Texas Observer. Can you talk a little about her time there?
Yeah, her time at the Texas Observer was really interesting in her career, particularly because she was very young. It was one of her first jobs. I think it was her third job, and she was still in her 20s. And basically, she was running the Texas Observer along with another woman in her 20s who was her dear friend, Sue Northcott, and they actually did things, and as a person who runs
Hey Northcott, I'm going to jump in there.
Sorry, I said her name wrong. Sorry.
Hey Northcott, it's fine, but I know like an 18th of and even less of the history that you do. So.
All I can say is someday I will sleep for 8 hours, and that will be awesome. And then I'll get names.
I know. We'll talk about that in just a minute, about how we're doing this show and how it's working, because This is all online. It's all virtual theater, and that is not what we at Austin Playhouse are used to doing. So this has been a big learning curve for us. We are excited to get it out there and to see how our audiences react to it. But oh my goodness, it has been a long few weeks, few months. Anyway, it's been a challenge.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, you were talking about Kay Northcott, her editor, and they would just go out on the road and find these stories.
Yeah, so they were just young women, and so they didn't have any money, and they didn't really have any sort of there was not really any like they're not going to get reimbursed for travel and stuff. So basically they'd find the subscribers to the paper, and they would call them once they didn't have to make a long distance call when they were in local rates from a payphone. And then they'd end up probably getting invited to dinner and stay the night. And that's how they traveled. Again, as a theater person, I really appreciate that kind of moxie and how you get it done-ness.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, this is part of live theater is still, for the most part, closed down across the country. A few days ago, they announced that Broadway is going to remain closed. Forgot what the later they were looking. It was January, and then that got pushed out to maybe March or May.
I think it's May. Yeah, I want to say May.
It's May that they so, and that's not a guarantee that it will reopen at that date. That's just where they're refunding tickets through that date and kind of guaranteeing that it won't reopen before then. And of course, live theater requires moving parts inside of moving parts inside of moving parts, and it's not something that you can just say, okay, Broadway or any big professional theater is going to open up 2 days from now and it can get going again. There's a lot of scheduling, a lot of logistics, and that's before we were in a pandemic. So for Austin Playhouse, our main venue right now is in a community college campus, and that is completely shut down to assembly such as ours. And that's even if we thought it was safe, if anybody thought it was safe to do this right now, which they don't for the most part, and we don't. We do not plan to reopen. What I've said is, until I'm comfortable bringing my mother to the theater, I'm not opening the doors for anyone. So that's where we are. But we also would like to still be here when live theater resumes. Live theater is not going anywhere. Whether it's, it'll be back once we're past this historical moment. But some of the companies that you're used to may not be back. It's like there are restaurants closing down every day. There was a big announcement that a very long-standing restaurant in Austin, Mother's Cafe, is going to be closing. And they made the statement as well, restaurants will come back, but a lot of those that you're used to may not. Which is all to say, we would like to evolve and survive and maybe even thrive at this point. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to explore this digital landscape in a way that live theater has not done much. And I'm going to stop talking in a second because I can get on my soapbox about where we're going. But I think that there are opportunities to still connect with our audiences, to still create art, to tell these stories, to bring this kind of relevant art form into people's lives. And right now we're doing it virtually. We had a live stream reading. This show is going to be pre-recorded. We will have a live Q&A afterwards. It's a step up. Technically, there are just a few more moving parts, so we're getting all of those in place to give audiences the best viewing experience possible. But then after the show each night, we're going to have this live chat, which will be sort of like this, where you get to talk to me, to Cyndi, maybe some other special guests. It is Austin Playhouse's founder and my father's birthday on Sunday, so I'll let you know that I'm going to pull him on that live stream, and we can all wish my dad a happy birthday. So with this show, it's going to look, when you're watching it, a lot like you were in that audience. And I've been so gratified by so many of our longtime supporters who are approaching this with just great grace and good humor. Cyndi's getting people talking who loved like the cookies we used to serve at the theater. So they're talking about, we're going to watch it, but my husband is requesting the chocolate chip cookies. And, you know, I guess every seat is front row center now. And anyway, so it's quite lovely. Cyndi, stop me from babbling about all the virtual theater things. Cyndi is also our box office manager, so she's been talking to a lot of these people all day long about what this is, and it's a live stream, so I'll be sending out this private link in a few minutes to those folks who are signed up for Friday night's show. And then 24 hours in advance of each show, the next group will get their link. How's that going? How are people responding to this brave new theatrical world?
It's really humbling. It's really been wonderful. First of all, people are buying tickets online, which is just so gratifying. And then so many of our subscribers who, you know, I'm getting up there. It's a little hard for me to get through some of the technology. And I've just been so impressed with everybody. I've been brought to tears by many people. A woman told me yesterday that out of everything in the world that's different, she just misses gathering at the theater with her friends the most. But we're getting a really wonderful response. I'm really grateful for people being willing to. It's just a different way to do theater, and I really appreciate the fact that people are open to trying to do it a different way during this time.
And I think that we haven't quite figured out exactly what this art form is and how it works, but you know, we had all of our rehearsals were via Zoom. So Cyndi set up her home office to resemble the set, but her first and only day on that set was when we recorded this. And so Cyndi is forever the bravest rock star actor I will have the pleasure of working with. And just kind of took everything that I threw at her and said, this is how we're going to have to do it. And because our theater is completely shut down, we went to ground floor theater that has is just a really wonderful safe space for us to be in to do this. And we didn't even have a skeleton crew. We had a you know, it was me and one other person. And then a lot of the tech that you're used to at theater we put in after the fact. But in blocking this, and I can't see the comments right now, I don't know if anybody's following or interesting, but you know, in blocking this, we really tried to keep that connection with the audience in mind. So it's not blocked the way you would for film or television, where you never really make contact with the camera, but we know you're out there. We know you're out there right this second watching us as we're doing that. So we really wanted to build as well as we could in this medium that connection between artist and audience. So we'll see how that works. And then I want to do one thing that we almost never do in previews for performances, and give them a little taste of very close to the end of the play. Usually you want to leave a little bit to the end, but right now at this point in time, and I'll give you another spoiler. This is why we selected this play, because we thought Molly's words were so relevant to this moment, so kind of necessary for some of us as we proceed in the unrelenting chaos that is the world right now. So just Cyndi, that big paragraph, that big chunk on the, you know what I mean, on the second to last page, it looks like this when you're looking at it. Yeah.
I'm going to start where I think you mean.
I know you're going to get it exactly right.
All right. I'm going to read too, because I want to be careful. You have more political power than 99% of the people who ever lived on this planet. You could not only vote, You can register other voters, put up signs, march. For the rest of your life, no matter what else you do, you have another job. You are a citizen. Beloveds, politics today stinks. It is rotten. These are some ugly, bad, and angry times, and I'm so freaked out. Hate has stolen the conversation. The poor are now voting against themselves. Politics isn't about left and right. It's about up and down. The few are screwing the many. Polarizing people is a great way to win an election. It's also a great way to wreck a country. Not that hard to figure out how to fix things. Stop letting big money buy our elections. Here's a score now. Every equivocating, calculating, triangulating, straddling, hair-splitting son of a bitch in office spends half his time whoring after special interest money. If folks were elected by regular citizens again, they'd have no one to dance with but us, the people. That'd bring me hope.
Yay. See, nailed it. You're perfect. And that, I know, that's a little more of the call to action part of it. But, y'all, I've seen the show more than anybody else, and I still laugh during it.
She did. And she's not that kind of a director.
I'm not. I don't laugh just to, make the actors feel better. It has to actually be funny. But yeah, so this has been a true joy to work on, and a lot of work. It is work to pivot is the word everybody uses, but I don't think it kind of fully encapsulates how difficult it is to change your industry from everything you've known and done for 30 years to kind of a whole new format, and to do it in the middle of the pandemic with people in home offices and some of them furloughed and hours cut. And it is tough. And so it is exceptionally meaningful when we hear from folks that they want us to keep doing this, that we hear from folks. So thank you to all of y'all who've written in. It really means a lot. Thank you. I'm gonna this is the end of our half hour here. Cyndi, do you want to give any shout outs? Do you want to let Luna give a shout out?
This is Luna. I have another dog too, but Luna's the big heart dog.
So I am, it is tough, but I'm so glad that we're taking on this challenge, and I'm so grateful that I got to listen to Molly Ivins' words for the past few weeks as we march onward into the chaos. So.
And I'm really grateful that I got to be the vessel for that. And I've known Lara since she's a little girl, and she's a really amazing director and has done an amazing job adapting us to this new thing we're doing. Thanks, Lara.
Thanks, lady. All right, I'm gonna get off before I get all mushy. But thanks to all of y'all out there. Thank you for joining us. Red Hot Patriot, we have 3 performances only this weekend, Friday and Saturday at 8 o'clock and Sunday at 5. And then we'll have a live Q&A with Cyndi after the show, and me and some other people. So it'll be fun. Thanks. Welcome.
Bye.